Welcome to Charissa Marie's Maternal Musings. I'm your host, Charissa Marie. Join me for heartfelt conversations with mothers, aunts, and fellow moms who also happen to be entrepreneurs, teachers, doctors, therapists, and more. We'll share profound life advice and wisdom, exploring personal experiences, life lessons, and professional expertise to enlighten, encourage, and empower. Tune in for inspiration and subscribe to join our journey of growth and empowerment. Well, hello, it's Charissa Marie with Charissa Marie's Maternal Musings. And you are going to meet a very special guest. Her name is Stephanie Lynum. Some of you are meeting her for the first time. Some of you have met her in a previous couple of interviews. I met Miss Stephanie about 14 years ago when we were both living in Belgium, Europe, and that was a fun time. It was an adventure, hopping around the country surrounding that area. And we had some things in common, obviously. Our spouses were stationed over there at the time. Besides that, besides just being a phenomenal woman and hilarious by accident, she's an educator. She's been an educator for about 20 years or so. And she's so, like many teachers, really invested in the growth of her kids, the kids that she educates every day. When she talks about it, you can feel her love for what she does. So much so that she began a program. She started a program, tutoring, but it's not just any tutoring. It's about study skills as well. And we know how important that is. A lot of kids, adults, college students get overwhelmed with organizing their study habits. And I actually have a couple of those workshop books herself, the books that go along with her program. And I will make sure to pass on that information to you. But in the meantime, please meet Stephanie, and please enjoy the talk and know that we're all in it together. She's a mother too, and I'm a mother, obviously. And you never know what you might learn from someone. So enjoy this talk. Please inbox me with any other suggestions for future shows that have to do with musings of motherhood and sharing some knowledge with other people. I would love to hear about it. But thank you, and enjoy.
Am I recording? I'm recording. I am recording. Okay. Well, hello. Long time no see. It's Charissa Marie with Charissa Marie's Maternal Musings. And hi, I'm so excited. So Stephanie, this is talking to you about. This is Miss Stephanie Lynum. And we have such a really unique history. And the crazy thing is that is so beautiful about this, that, our friendship is that it doesn't really matter how much time goes by, really. Like I literally will randomly, I send her a message, said, hey, do you mind being on my show? And she's like, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's a beautiful thing. And it's a blessing to have people like that in your life, but let me introduce to you Miss Stephanie Lynum. She's an educator. She's a God-fearing woman, and she should be a comedian, but she's not. She's so funny, and it's so by accident. She's just so funny, and she's so smart. That's the thing too. And here's another confession. I remember when I was doing when I was living overseas. I was writing. I had an article that I was writing in back in the States, I think. But whatever I was writing, whether it was my blogs or whatever it was, okay, low key, I know I'm a terrible speller. I'm so bad, it's not even funny. Listen, it is bad. And Stephanie, I don't know if you remember this, but you did say, I can edit for you. Basically, low key, I don't remember that, but I know that's something I would say.
That's something you say, but that's true. Even my own daughter, who is 14, oh, this is bad, was like, but see, that's different because she's judging me on my text. And that's because I don't know text language. Text language is different than regular language. They got all this, you know what I mean? She said, and mommy, you can't use a period in a text and you can't use exclamation marks. It's like yelling at people. I said, and I thought she was not telling the truth until I was talking to a teenage girl from China because I tutor, and that's another thing. We'll get into it later.
Okay.
So I tutor people from overseas, and we had a conversation. I was telling her about that. She said, "Yeah, you don't do that. That's yelling. It's so rude." I'm like, so shocked. But so Stephanie, tell the audience, tell us about what you do. How long have you been teaching? This is Stephanie. Stephanie.
Oh gosh. Let's see. This is my, I don't know, 12th, 13th year. I've had some breaks in between. Like you said, I was overseas. I've moved. My husband was military, hence why we linked up in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
So I've taught pretty much almost every age group from 3-year-olds up to high school seniors. In addition to that, I have uh, I've done tutoring. Not anyone from China, but I do have my own tutoring business as well as I create workbooks. Um, but right now, what am I doing? I am highly paid babysitter. But no, right now, I teach ninth grade. I teach English. I teach pre-AP. So I work at a STEM early college high school, and that means that the students, they take almost all pre-AP classes in my school, and they also go to college. So I have freshmen this year who are college students. It's a very interesting dynamic. Having, children who are coming right out of high school, middle school, and coming into high school and trying to figure out all about high school life. And then at the same time, they're on the college campus trying to figure out about the college campus life. But that's pretty much my background. In terms of my personal life, I am a wife. As I mentioned, my husband was in the Army and he retired a few years ago. I have a daughter. And when we met, Charissa, she was in 8th grade. She is now 26 and she has a daughter who's 2. My grandbaby just turned 2 on the 10th of May, and she is my heart. I absolutely love that little girl. I love my daughter too, but whoo, doggy. But no, I love my daughter as well. So it is quite interesting because when we met, your youngest was a baby.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because we had gone on kind of this little trip of our own to see. We're in Belgium, but we're going to what's the capital of Belgium?
Brussels.
Brussels. Thank you. Look, and we were going to get on the train or something, and something happened with your ticket, and you couldn't get through the little turn thing. And we're like, "Well, just hand us the baby. You go back." And you're like, and we're like, "We promise, we will not take your baby. We will not take her." And you were like, "Oh," you came back, and you're like, "Okay." And so I think you learned to trust us after that.
You know what? It's so crazy when you think about what you just said. Immediately had to trust you after that. I mean, because I birthed this child in another country, and then and I have 2 strangers saying, "Trust us, trust us, baby. We will get the baby across." And I'm like, "What these people talking about? Hey, people?" You know what I'm saying? So, like, when you think about how it all started, it makes sense. And I trusted you so much that when Michael and I wanted to explore Paris, who did I call? You.
Hey, what? Let me tell you. So you had your baby at the CDC at the time.
By the way, for you all who don't know, it's a child development center. And I was working there. And so, okay, my child was, I don't know, ninth grade or 10th. At that point, I'm not that bright when it comes to car seats. I'm not even that bright now when it comes to car seats. So I'm used to regular car seat. You know, you strap that sucker in. You know, you got the seat belt. You just pull it across the front and you hook it in the little latches. This car seat she gave me, y'all, it had all these bells and whistles and this extra bottom portion is extra. So she's like, yeah, you just take it out to the. Y'all, when I tell you I couldn't get the bottom portion off the top portion off the, and I was just like, ah, and I was running late for work and I just threw the car seat in there and strapped it across. I ain't know how to do them extra, hook this behind here and there. Then I'm running into the CDC. I got the entire hookup thing. She's in the car seat. I'm just running in like, look, here y'all, good luck. I gotta get to my class.
So, yes, that was so funny. But you know what? Okay, if I'm being honest, I struggled too at first.
Well, yeah, because you have an even bigger gap than me. Your oldest daughter is older than my daughter.
Right.
So, yeah.
I struggled too. I was kind of like, how do I do this? Like I had to practice. Like, you know, I was like, okay, we're gonna try this again slowly. If I do this like this and do this like this, it was terrible. Like, because I remember being embarrassed myself because I could not. And it was like the stroller was a struggle for me. It was too complicated at first. And I remember like feeling embarrassed because I'm standing in the parking lot holding my child in the car seat and trying to figure out how to manipulate the stroller. I felt very unprepared. You know,
these school things, yes.
I was like, I don't know how to do this. You know what I mean? And you just can't trust everybody. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like, hey, stranger, come on over here and help me with this, please. You know, like I just had to figure it out. But
luckily, I don't have to figure it out now. My daughter's like, Mom, okay, this is how you see, and you see this too, and you put it in the groove block, and then she had to teach you how to take the base off the back. There's a hook back here, Mom, and I'm still short. She's like, you don't leave me alone, doggone it. It's been a long time. I ain't have to do all this.
Yeah. You know what, Stephanie? Now they have the kind, and I will never get to use one. Thank God. I don't need whatever in life. But now they have the kind where you just push a button. And the car seat, not the car seat, the stroller undoes itself. It just unfolds and opens up. It's amazing.
Well, that's nice. What's that like? See, I remember me as the mom back in the day, and I had the it wasn't one that I put the car seat into. It was a regular stroller, but it didn't have the nice little feature where, you know, the foot pedal and you can, you know, and it will open. No, I had to try to hold her and then get the thing and do that and get her in and oh, if I had to wrap it up. And by the way, I was getting on and off the bus, so I was trying to hurry up and get her out of the car seat good and wrap up the car seat. I mean, it was a hot mess. So yeah, now they got extra little bells and whistles and things and stuff. Yeah, well, I didn't have all that. You can see I'm really dating myself, but it's okay. It's okay. She's
We're wise. That's what we got on everybody else, Stephanie. We're older and wiser than these.
Yes.
You know, the millennials out here mothering. But so, Stephanie, here's why I think it was important to talk to you is because, and I wish I have had more conversations with you last year for my two, because this year was a struggle educationally, you know, because you know there was a move, and then you missed your friends whether they're aware of it or not at the time. It's a lot when you go from one school system to another, but a whole nother state. Right. So, Stephanie, you obviously have to be very patient to be a teacher.
Yes.
No.
So for me, being a teacher, well, you know, everybody has their own style and how they do things. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're talking about teaching. And what is interesting, because I just cannot wait for you to have my sister on here, because she You're talking about I'm a comedian? Oh no, I am far from it. My
Yeah.
sister, she is the true comedian. And she also teaches ninth grade English, but she teaches regular English, not pre-AP. She teaches at a traditional high school. Now, I've, of course, taught at a traditional high school and taught ninth grade and all that, but she does. And her level of patience is so.
Oh,
I'm telling you, and you know my sister, so I can't wait for you to have us both on.
yeah, for sure.
Huh?
She she is. Yeah, you're right. She is funny, and
She-
she. But the kids, I think you were telling me the kids really do love her.
They do, and they respect her.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. As a teacher, it depends on people's patients are a little bit different. Some people are like, and so for me, I do exhibit quite a bit of patience, but I'm very stern. I'm very strict.
Mm-hmm.
So but what's funny is that, like you're saying, you're such a comedian, da, 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 da. And my sister said the same thing to me before she started teaching. So I'm usually comic
Wow.
relief to my
Yeah.
friends and my family. And she's like, you're the biggest goofball ever. Who's going to listen to you? But it wasn't until she actually saw me in my element that she realized, like, oh, wow. Because I now tell the kids and the parents, I say, I'm strict, I'm
Mm-hmm.
anal, and I'm kind of OCD-ish.
You
Here's
are.
my box, stay in my box.
Yeah.
Don't get outside my box, and we won't have any problems. And
Right.
that's how it is. But it comes from, so the very first time I taught, I was uncertified. I hadn't gone through any classes or anything. And so the only thing I could base my teaching on was my personal experience of being in school. Well, when I was in school, I didn't act up because I knew that, let's be honest, I wouldn't be talking to you today. My daddy would have stomped me down 6 feet with his diabetic legs type of thing. So I just knew I had to act right. So when I started teaching, I didn't know really how to do classroom management. And everyone kept telling me, "Oh, you're doing well. You're teaching the kids. You just have to work in your classroom management. That's easy." And I'm like, "No, it's not. I don't know what to do. That's the hardest thing." So I started to learn and pay attention, because I stopped teaching and then I went to school and I got my certification and everything. But I was working in school, a couple of schools, and watching other teachers and seeing what they were doing. And I started to pick up on certain things and seeing what will work for me and not work for me. And so that, of course, increased my patience a little bit, with kids and with me. And you're right. It is very difficult a lot of times when you have kids who are moving or whatever the case may be. And it's difficult for the teachers as well, because I have not, obviously, former military wife, I have not been at the same school district for years and years and years. And so that takes a lot of patience as well, because kids are different depending on where you're at. When I was overseas, it was a completely different atmosphere. First of all, those kids knew that they couldn't act up too much, because mom or dad, whoever was in the military, would get in trouble by their superior. So they had to make sure that they kind of stayed on their P's and Q's a little bit more. Whereas here in the States, you don't have that with the regular schools. And so, you have to deal with a lot of different things. But I will say that in the long run, yes, teaching has been rewarding in many ways. I'm not gonna lie though. There was a point where I was done teaching, and I was in 2020, and I quit, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. But then I ended up going back last school year. My admin, she was at a different school with me, in different school district, and we were just talking about life. I was asking her, why did she leave the school that she was at, and she was asking me about cruising all the time. And we just started talking, and she told me about a couple of positions she had. And I said, "Oh, English, huh?" And she started telling me about what was going on at the school. And so I said, "Okay, well, let me discuss it with my husband, yada, yada." And, oh, well, there it was, ta-da. And my husband, he had the nerve to say, I told him, he was listening to some of the conversation, and then I told him the rest. And he was like, don't walk, run to your office and apply. Really, honey? Really? So I applied, and so now I'm always messing with her. And I said, you know what? I have no sympathy for you because you knew what you were getting. You hired me. You already knew how I was.
Yeah.
But she enjoys me being there, and I enjoy being at the school. So this is my second year at this particular school, and I like it for the most part.
I remember when you were saying I'm done. I remember that. But and I will never have said this then because it's a personal choice. But in my heart, I was kind of like, oh man, these kids still need her. Like.
Thanks.
In my heart, I was kind of like, this is, I know you have a sense of humor with us. You know what I mean? But I know your OCD also.
In my work life, yes, I have tendencies.
I think that's good because I think there's not enough of that, to be honest with you. Because when kids can see, they have something to model, they have something to shoot for. Like, okay, I need to always be organized. Organization creates a nice thinking space for me, and it's because of Miss Stephanie. Like they're actually looking at you, and you are modeling for them how you get things done.
And that's so. I do that. I work at organization from the little kids all the way up to, like I said, the high school seniors I've had. And with the little kids, when I was working at, I worked at a couple of different learning centers. I was showing them organization in terms of, we're not pulling all the toys out. We can play with this and this and this, and that's it for right now. And that taught them how, okay, now we play with this, now we put these things back, and now let's get something else. And that was to help them, so when they're at home, they're not just pulling everything out and stuff is all over the place, and then they're sitting there, I don't know what to do. And then as the kids get older, of course, it's more organization about their work and everything. And now when I tell you, I am so super organized, it's craziness. But it's because a lot of kids come from homes, and I can only speak for myself as well. The parents don't always either know how or teach your kids how to be organized. And so they're just all over the place. And so that's kind of how it was as I was growing up. So I've realized that a lot of kids come from homes like that, where things are not organized. They don't know what to do, where not, and they need somebody to show them. And especially now that I teach ninth grade, this is the beginning of their high school, career type of thing. This is the last stage of schooling before they are truly out there in the real world. And if they don't learn some of these skills now, they're not going to. And so when you think about being organized, first of all, being organized just with your schoolwork and everything, a lot of times that can become very much so confusing. And so I try to show them ways of, this is what you need to do. And now, because of there were some perks to COVID, and one of them is that now we're more into using technology. Excuse me, because that's the way of the world. So, I teach them how to be organized with their work. I teach them how to find their assignments, things like that, because there's no need of them saying, well, I didn't know this. When you said, I said, well, I don't know what to tell you, because I've taught you and I've shown you how to go ahead and be organized in that manner. And then I also, in my classroom setting, so first of all, you got a lot of kids to come from a lot of different backgrounds. And, looking at your house, and I've been in your house, been in a couple of your places, your house is very clean, nice, all of that. But there's a lot of children who don't come from a household that's clean and organized and they feel safe in it. And I'm not saying that, somebody's going to try to attack them. No, I'm meaning, maybe they come from a home that they have bugs, or they have mice, or they have whatever. And so my classroom stays organized as well. So everything is in its place and it goes back in its place so it can be found and it stays clean. Now, my sister, you know what? I don't like my sister. She likes because I have the elementary background and because I have such a bubbly personality, as everyone says. So my classroom is very much so colorful. And she's like, it looks like a clown threw up in your room. You know what? You always hating on me, but she always taking my stuff. By the way, she always need my stuff. But that's beside the point. So I really can't wait for us to both be on here. But so my room, yes, is very, colorful and bright because, it makes me feel like, okay, but it's organized. I make sure my room is clean. I make sure that and this is part where my OCD comes in. So they have to put certain things, certain places, then that way they can find them. So for instance, I have these little squares and rectangles. One side is green, one side is red. So if they're testing, they have it on the green side. So I can look out and spot check and see who's still testing, who's not. Once they finish, they flip it to red. Well, it has to go in the top. This is where the OCD comes in. Top right-hand corner of the desk. Because where my desk sits, it's easier for me to scan that way. When it's, if they had a book or something, I was like, top left-hand corner of the desk, or if my desks are in groups, top outer corner of your desk. I mean, that's just how I am. But even though it seems like I'm going crazy, there is a method to my madness. And the method is...
Oh my gosh, I how much you say that.
Yeah, see, but it teaches them, okay, have certain things certain places, or put certain things certain ways, certain places. So for instance, at home, now my home life is not as organized as my work life, but there's certain things that I do. So my purse goes one place at home. My keys go inside of my purse. I have I have multiple people who have lived with me. My sister is one of them. And oh my goodness, she can't find her keys from 1 minute to the next. Doesn't know what her purse is. My husband, where's my wallet at? I left the wallet. But if you put it in the same place and you stay organized in that way, you will find it.
Yes, I'm with you on that.
And so that, that's just some of the ways I'm trying to show them and saying, if you learn to do these little things, you can transfer those skills when you go home for other things you have. And you say, okay, I'm always going to do this, this, and this the same way every day. Just like another thing I tell them, okay, you need to charge up your Chromebook at night. And then at night, you need to put your Chromebook and your charger inside of your backpack. So that way you're not running around in the morning looking for anything. Not all students do it, but some do. So, when it comes to the teaching role, it's a lot. Of course, the parenting role is a little bit different because, it's not as structured when you're at home. But I've noticed I've said a lot of I gotta work at that. I'm sorry. I also have ADHD, so I ping pong. Don't mind me. But the point is, I look at it and say that I'm trying to help parents because it is supposed to be an extension. School is supposed to be an extension of the home, of the community. And so I feel, and vice versa. And I feel that if I'm teaching them certain things here, they can take that home and then they can take that into their community because obviously they have friends and family members who don't necessarily have me as a teacher, but they can show them those things. And especially if they're not learning it at home, they can even indirectly show their parents. And, their parents are like, wow, okay, I didn't think about that, or I didn't realize that. So that's kind of what I try to do when I am teaching. I always tell my kids, I don't care about Shakespeare like that and all that. That's not going to get you super far in life. I'm trying to teach you skills that will transfer outside of these four walls. And so, yes, I can teach you obviously grammar and Shakespeare, but I feel that it is essential that I teach you other things as well.
Oh my goodness, Stephanie. So, that's, and there's not that's like the kind of teacher that we grew up with, right? There was an investment in the person, not just not in the knowledge, but in the person, how they're going to conduct themselves as a citizen out in the world, how they're going to behave in the world, how they're going to show up for people in the world. That is so important. And I think it's also very much missed. And something too, and that I just hadn't thought about when you were saying that is I also see the struggle with teachers because there are some parents that may not have certain skill sets. You know what I
Right.
mean? There are some parents, and so then that what happens is that parent, whether they verbalize it or not or communicate that, is now relying on the teacher to do things that, like, to be honest, that should come from home, like the golden rules. And
Yeah.
so that's a fine line to have to walk, where, on one hand, you are, we are the world,
Hmm.
we love the people, you know what I'm saying? The point I'm trying to make is
Yeah.
we are supposed to, like, help raise the village, but we still have to make the mom and daddies in the village strong so they can raise their own children. You know what I'm saying?
That is so true.
It really
And
hard for you because
it
like,
does sometimes. And not just me, for a lot of teachers. And it's so I listened to a couple of watch a couple of videos on YouTube where you have teachers or former teachers putting out videos saying, this is what a parent sent me, and da, 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 and parents expecting them to do all kinds of stuff. And I was like, what? No. But you're right. There are so many parents who either they don't know how or they don't want to. And so, yes, as a teacher, that is a fine line that we walk. And it now has become where everything is put on the teachers, and the parents are, well, why aren't you doing this? Or why haven't you learned? Da, da, da. And so it becomes a thing where you're trying to tell the parent, well, you have to understand that I can only do so much, and you have to contribute as well. And I don't know when it changed or how it ended up changing to be this way, but it is. And for many teachers, especially those who are old school that we still have in the classrooms, a lot of them are saying, "Wait a minute, that's not my job. I'm not about to do everything mama and daddy is supposed to do." But at the same time, we also have to realize we have completely different dynamics. We have a lot more children being raised by grandparents or aunts and uncles, siblings, older siblings. And so, if you think about it, say a grandparent, here I am. Like I said, I'm Nana now. And God forbid I have to raise my grandbaby when she's 10 or 11 or 15. By then I'm done with the raising in the school setting, but then now
yeah.
I'm put back into it. And so, yes, because I'm a teacher, I'm going to have some knowledge that the average parent wouldn't. Say for yourself, you don't have that inner workings of how it works in the classroom setting teacher, and you're kind of, wait a minute, I got to start this all over again type of deal. It may be a little bit more difficult for you at that stage. So I can kind of understand why, some grandparents or aunts or uncles or whomever may have a hard time. But at the same time, they need to get to the point where, okay, they have a strong handle on it. And definitely the parents, if that's your kid, you really need to have a strong hold on that. So I'm not certain what the answer is, but I know what I do. There are some times I say, okay, well, here's some suggestions that you could do, da 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 da. Especially when parents say, well, I didn't know that they were not doing the work or not this. I said, well, especially since now with technology, and for me, I'm so glad that pretty much 99% of my work is online. So then I go, well, here's a suggestion. And maybe what you can do is have them open up their computers, because some parents don't even think of that. It seems simple. Some of these things seem really simple, but they don't necessarily think of the simple things. And I say, well, you can have your child open up their computer right there in front of you and tell them to go onto our learning management system is Canvas. Some schools use Blackboard, some use Google Classroom. But I tell them, open that up. And I said, our official grade book is a sender, but some use, different things. I said, open up both of those things right there in front of them. And then that way you can see exactly what they see. And then you can ask them questions. You can see what work they turned in, didn't turn in. If it says it's late, whatever the case may be, then that way you can have conversations with your child about it. And
Yeah.
that's just, it seems logical, but a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I could, yeah. And those are things a lot of times parents don't necessarily think about. And maybe it's because they're so busy, because now it's so much stuff you have to do. And, it's not like when we were much younger, and even before times, before we were born, when it was, the wife stayed at home or the mother stayed at home. And yes, she had all this time to work with her kids and stuff. Now everybody has to work and do different things. And so, I understand that time is of the essence, but at the same time, if you know that this is part of your responsibility of being a parent, then you got to put that time back into your kid. And so that's why I try to make, little suggestions that could help them to get back into that position where they're taking more of that control.
You absolutely. And you know what? So my daughter can't stand that I can see stuff. I pull up in my office and I'll be like, this said missing. And then she'll say, oh, I'm busting her out. I forgot I have children who are still here living with me. But anyway,
It's okay.
This is a funny experience. And but the funny thing is, she sometimes has said to me, I'm done all my homework. I'm all done. I'm like, you must be forgetting that I have access to this. Like, this is crazy. So I go up and I'll see, and Alonzo taught me a trick. Like he told me, Alonzo said, Mommy, for our system that we use. And
Okay.
we had to switch a whole system because they were doing something else in Virginia than in Georgia. But he said, Mommy, if it's in color and not gray, that means it has not been done. And so that, right? And so when Adira tried to play that mess on me, I said, well, if it's in color, that means it has not been done. Because Alonzo told me that it said it's not done if it's still colored and it turns gray. She said, well, I don't have to do that. And so I clicked the assignment and it said missing. I said, Adira, if it says missing, they are missing your work. So you don't have to do it. It seems logical. Missing, turn in. Missing, turn in. And there's a turn in right there. See, it says turn in. See, she can't stand it. But like on Saturday morning, sometimes I'll print a whole, I'm old school, so I still like paper,
Okay. I have gotten away from that.
I want to. I'm really working hard to. But I will print a whole, it's because I'm maybe slightly control freak, right? And so I just a little bit. So I'll print the paper and then I'll highlight it and I'll staple a stack. Not a big stack, but it'll be like a little stack. And I'll go to her room. Adira, you see this? So everything I highlighted says missing. See? Everything. Missing, 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 missing. I want you to finish this stack before I start working. Okay? But it's wonderful. I think the parents do have to take the time to learn that school's technology.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I kind of like I sometimes struggle, especially when I just learned the other technology. It's kind of like, oh man, but you absolutely have to because the difference between my husband and I is I know the technology, he doesn't know the technology. So Adira will say, because she likes to study with Daddy.
Of course.
She'll say, Michael will say, well, are you done with your homework? She'll say, yeah. And that's it. Whereas me, it's like, girl, come on now. I got to scream just like you. I got to scream. I can see.
And that's how it was. A lot of people prior to, especially the pandemic, oh, do you have homework? No, I don't have any homework. I'm done. I'm not even gonna lie. So my sister, she has 4 kids, and they've all stayed with me. I've stayed with them. We're interchangeable parents, and so it would be okay. Well, you have homework? No, but my nephew, her youngest son, she has boy girl. So the second boy. I don't understand how every single day he never had homework. I'm like, don't you have some homework? I know you gotta have some homework. He would take a backpack, and sometimes it would only be a pen in that backpack. And I was like, why are you carrying a backpack? What is, or he would, then when COVID hit, he had his laptop or his Chromebook and he never pulled it out. And I was telling my sister, does he have homework? Didn't you check whatever? Because I'm like, okay, those are kids. When I, if she want me to sign up, I will. But I was just like, seriously. But kids for the longest have gotten away with, oh, I don't have any homework. I don't this, I don't that. And now, it's a little bit harder, like you said. I got a screen just like you got a screen.
Right.
Her youngest lives in California. So her oldest and youngest, they live in California. Her oldest son is in the Marines. Very proud of him. I'm proud of all of them. But the youngest lives there with him and his family. And I can't even tell you how many times that we have a family discussion about her failing everything. I'm like, how do you have 30 missing assignments? I don't understand. But I backed off because I'm like, "Argh." And him and his wife, they're like, let us handle it. Da, da, da. All righty. I'm going to back off then because there's no way that you should have that many missing assignments.
It's hard.
I don't know. It's
Listen, this is why, look, we're going to have to talk offline but about some parenting tips. But because, here's the thing, though. Like, I would, like with the Dira, also there's the thing of when you're 13, about to be 14, and the whole hormonal thing. And then you're leaving your friends from another state to come to here, and there's a little bit of rebellion in your head, you know what I mean? Like, so I try to give her some grace, but also I don't want you to fail. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's, and this is what I'm learning, it's a different generation. Even like between like our daughters, it's different now. It's just so different compared to what it was. And the challenge for me is trying to stay in jail. Okay. It's just kind of like, listen, how hard I had a healthy, kids they don't understand when I say this, the younger generation, but you do. I had a healthy fear of my parents.
Wait a minute, didn't I tell you 6 feet under? A healthy fear.
And here's the thing, I know they love me and I love them. And they're, and it's great. And, I didn't get beat down and
right.
But, I had a healthy fear. And so it took me one time to get something real bad for me to never do it again. Because also I was sort of a people pleaser. So I never really wanted to kind of do anything crazy. And that's where Haley is maybe more like me, right?
Okay.
Adira it's a little bit different. She's also very, very smart, which is why this is so frustrating. It's just that I can say, okay, we're looking at this assignment. We both know you have to do it. Could you please do it? And she'll say yes, right? And so me, if that were my parent, I would be doing it because
you don't even have to tell me.
I've been busted. I've been given grace to finish, right? And so I will go back and look later or by accident kind of see because it pops up, things pop up for me. Like I get notifications, girl. I ain't playing. So, and then I let teachers know, you communicate with me because I need to know. And I would go and see that it's like not all done, just like halfway done and not done. And so those assignments that are like that accumulate, and then that's going to be a 0. So I'm like, Adira, just finish it. Just finish it because I'm thinking about your nephew and how you're like, well, how Because sometimes they do stuff like they might start it, and then next thing you know, they're doing something else, and that goes back to organization.
Yes.
If you have some solid organization skills, you won't even allow yourself to do that, because then you'll be in chaos, and that's uncomfortable. It's like, and so I am at the place where I want to help them feel that the chaos is disruptive to them. It's
Right.
just not helpful to them, and that the organization of it all will make all of this go away.
And so that, and one of the things that I try to teach my students, which is interesting because I learned this when I went to college for my undergrad. And back then, like I said, a lot of us still paper pencil. And my she was my counselor, but you know how you have to take that first class of this is college life and blah blah blah. So it was kind of a study skills type of class. So she gave us a sheet and basically like a calendar, and it had the times from midnight all the way to midnight again. And so she said, okay, the first thing you need to do is put in when you have your actual classes and blah blah blah, and then put in when you breakfast and whatnot. And then she said, now you need to put in when you're going to study, and you block that time off. Excuse me. So I try to tell some students when I pull them aside and they start talking about organization and whatnot. Well, I don't know stuff. And I said, okay, well, first of all, you need to study. You need to study 5 minutes per day for each one of your subjects. So why don't you block off some time, put it in your calendar, even on your phone or your calendar through the learning management system, and say, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to study this subject. And even if you don't do 5 minutes a day, maybe you say, okay, on because in my school I have block scheduling, which is really, really nice. So that means that the students have the same classes Monday and Wednesday, and then they have a different set of classes Tuesday and Thursday. So I said, okay, say it's a Monday, and you say, okay, I want to study those couple of classes I had. I'll study from 5 to 5:30 on this, and then 5:45 to 6:15 or whatever. Put it in there, and then okay, this is even if it's not study, if it's doing your homework, whatever, during that time, that's what you're devoting for that time. And so then that way you're staying on track a little bit more because you've built in and some students,
but
they try to do it, some not so much. And of course, like I said, I work with ninth graders, so it's still so for Adira, definitely she's a middle schooler. Hence why middle school is not one of my favorite areas to teach. Neither is ninth grade, but that's the point. Because middle school, like you said, it's the hormones and everything, so they have a plethora of things that's going on externally as well as internally. So for her, it might need to be, okay, look, instead of giving her that packet, say, look, from now to 45 minutes from now, you're going to do this assignment. If you finish before the 45 minutes is up, then you'll have whatever time of that 45 minutes, you'll have that time to sit, draw, rest, listen to music, whatever it is you're going to do. And then we'll look at what's next. And so that may help her to say, okay, I can chunk stuff and stay organized, but I don't feel so overwhelmed, because maybe that also might be part of it. And especially for kids who have, like you said, she gets behind quite a few assignments. They're like, and there's marbles running around in the brain, and they don't know necessarily what to do.
Yeah.
And so, just like in English, when we have to chunk information for them to read because of the fact that a lot of kids just can't, they don't have the stamina to read long pages and multiple pages. It's the same thing when it comes to doing homework, when it comes to even cleaning their room or anything that they're doing, they may need to have it chunked. And so, once again, those are, as a teacher, oh yeah, I know that. But a parent may not necessarily know that. They're like, go in there and do your homework. Go outside and cut the grass. But okay, well, if you don't have the stamina, it's kind of difficult until they can build that. So that's one of those other things that as a teacher, I would say, well, here's a suggestion as a parent, for you as a parent, do da 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 da. And once again, yes, it might seem easy, logical, but sometimes it's not, especially if you were never raised that way. I know I wasn't. If you don't have somebody in your family community showing you those things, you might not think about that. But as a teacher, because this is kind of what we do, it's sometimes easier to say, okay, here are some suggestions. And
Yeah.
my thing this year is tools for your toolbox. And I say that because I don't shy away from the fact that I go to therapy. And so my therapist is always giving me tools for my toolbox. And so that's what I've been telling the kids this year. I'm giving you lots of tools for your toolbox. So then that way, you know what tools you have, and you start using those tools to help you to fix whatever it is that you need to fix. Pages and multiple pages. It's the same thing when it comes to doing homework, when it comes to even cleaning their room or anything that they're doing, they may need to have it chunked. And so once again, those are, as a teacher, oh yeah, I know that, but a parent may not necessarily know that. They're like, go in there and do your homework, go outside and cut the grass. But okay, well, if you don't have the stamina, it's kind of difficult
Yeah.
until they can build that. So that's one of those other things that as a teacher, I would say, well, here's a suggestion as a parent, for you as a parent,
Mhm.
do da 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 da. And once again, yes, it might seem easy, logical, but sometimes it's not, especially if you were never raised that way. I know I wasn't. If you don't have somebody in your family community showing you those things, you might not think about that. But as a teacher, because this is kind of what we do, it's sometimes easier to say, okay, here are some suggestions. And
Yeah.
my thing this year is tools for your toolbox. And I say that because I don't shy away from the fact that I go to therapy. And so my therapist is always giving me tools for my toolbox. And so that's what I've been telling the kids this year. I'm giving you lots of tools for your toolbox. So then that way, you know what tools you have, and you start using those tools to help you to fix whatever it is that you need to fix.
Oh, Stephanie, that's good. And think about it. When you were talking, I was thinking about even me when I'm doing stuff, because if I don't, and I've never been diagnosed with anything, but the crazy thing is, we probably all have a little, like, I think, am I HDHD? And I think
ADHD or ADD?
HDHD.
ADHD. Yeah, I have ADHD. It means I ping pong all over the place.
I've never looked into going to be diagnosed, but I definitely struggle a little bit with things like I'll start something and then I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta go hop on this, and so I'll stop.
You might have ADHD.
But I've never been diagnosed. But what I have been doing for myself when I know that I have a lot of tasks to do, I will say, okay, I can't do it all right at the moment. So what I'm going to do is, okay, for an hour, I'm going to go work in my yard. Because like I like to do projects and stuff. Say I'm going to do this for an hour. So I'm going to be doing this for an hour. Okay, now an hour is up. So now that my hour is up, now I can go start my laundry. And then, you know what I mean? And then, so I have to make a point, because if I don't, it becomes chaotic for me. Like,
Yeah.
I have to really think about it and do it. And now I've been putting it like in my calendar.
Okay.
Like I'll say, okay, so for an hour I'm doing this. It seems crazy, but it really helps me not be as stressed, really.
No, it's not crazy. It's the same concept that I said about when I went to college. And she said, okay, block off what you're doing from this time to this time, on and on. And that's exactly the only difference is you're doing it electronically, and we were doing it paper pencil, but it is exactly the same thing. And it's interesting that you said that because so I have ADHD. I have been diagnosed with it. My sister has it as well. I talk about my sister a lot, as you can tell, but I love her. So her ADHD is worse than mine. And her ADHD is horrible. When she gets on here, we're going to talk about that one time. So for me, as a child, once again, healthy fear, healthy. So I guess I did have ADHD as a child, but I didn't really know because I knew I better figure out how to sit down, do my work, don't get in trouble, yada, yada, yada. So it didn't occur to me. So as an adult, though, what I realized, so teaching, teachers usually get what's called a conference period. That means that's a period in the day that you have off, and that's supposed to be for you to check papers and make phone calls, whatever it is you need to do. Now, I'm also the type of person, I'm always super helpful. Yes, I'm a people pleaser, like you had mentioned. And so, for instance, if I see a kid in the hallway, the teacher put them out and put them in the hallway. They don't even have to be my kid. I'm like, come here. Or I'll walk up to him. What's going on? Well, this, that, and the other. And blah, blah, I didn't have supplies. And okay, you need supplies. So you're supposed to bring supplies to class, and then you're in there acting up. Come to my room. And here's a folder. What else you need? You need this, you need that. All right, now I'm gonna check in with you in a couple of days. You better still have these supplies. Then I go over there to the teacher. Okay, I had a conversation. I was just wondering, is it possible that you can let this kid back in? They have everything they need now, and they're going to do right, aren't you? Don't you need to apologize right now? I'm sorry for blah, blah. And then, so I was originally supposed to be checking some papers, but I was out in the hallway because I had to use the restroom. But then I stopped for this one kid, then went back into my room to get the supplies, and went to go talk to this teacher to try to get this kid back in the room. Then I come back in my room and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. Let me erase the board. I got to go run copies. But I'm still supposed to be checking papers. So I ping pong all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I'm actually teaching, because I'm so strict, because I've learned classroom management and I don't want the kids, my fear, I'm only 5 feet. And my fear is that they're going to hang me up literally and figuratively. So it's like, I got to keep us going. We're on track. So when it comes to my actual teaching, for the most part, I'm like, So I don't ping pong. But there's sometimes I get off track. But I ping pong a lot when it's my downtime, and I never could figure it out. And so I told you I go to therapy. And my therapist has mentioned to me a few times, she said, Stephanie, I think you have ADHD. But okay, we'll come back to that. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, really? No, I don't think so. And da-da-da. And then when I told you I had quit in 2020, my anxiety ramped up so bad. I've always had depression, but my anxiety was always like here. My anxiety said, shoot. I've never had it like that. So I'm like, I need meds. I need something because this is not working. So I got with a psychiatrist. And I kid you not, I'm like this because it, like I said, it was 2020. And no, I take that back. It was 2021, very beginning of 2021. And we're sitting like this. And so I talk with my hands a lot, as you can tell. And I'm talking. And a few minutes in, she said, has anyone ever told you have ADHD? I said, that's surprising. My therapist said, she said, we're going to come back to that. And so
wow.
They had me come into the office, I don't know, a couple of weeks or so after that, and I had to do some tests, and they were like, yeah, you got ADHD. And so now I take medication, but it has helped because I don't ping pong as much.
That's good.
It's it can become chaotic, and one of the reasons why I do well when I'm teaching versus when I'm downtime is because I'm organized in how I do things. Okay, when we come in, we're doing this, and then this is next, and then this. And when you have those things and you say, okay, we're spending this amount of time on this and this amount of time on that, it does help. I'm learning how to transfer that into my personal life. So just like the same thing with you, where you say, okay, I'm saying for an hour, I'm gonna work at the yard, and for this, I'm gonna work for this. Yes, I have to put things into my calendar now as well to say, okay, I need to do this, that, and the other, because the chaos and it's all over. And as the older I get and the more experience I have, and of course, working with children more, I'm realizing that, we have to allow children to figure some things out too, but to show them, once again, tools for their toolbox. No one ever told me when I was a kid. So one of the things my sister always fusses at me about prior to me, even now, but prior to me being diagnosed with ADHD. So I'm the type of person, like you said, I'll start cleaning here. Oh, wait, this goes into the bathroom. I'm in the bedroom. This goes to the bathroom. They take that to the bathroom. Oh, wait. Oh, man, let me wipe this counter off real quick. And then, I need some more rags. I go down to the kitchen for something. Then, I'm a little bit hungry. Oh, what's this? Oh, let me sweep this up real quick. But I have not finished the main thing that I started with, which was the bedroom.
Yeah.
So, kids, a lot of times they don't realize that as well, and then parents are fussing at them, why is your room clean? But well, maybe they also have ADHD, or may not necessarily have it, but they have some little symptoms of it, and so they have to be taught, okay, do this, here's another strategy. So for me, I've had to learn, if I'm cleaning my bedroom and there's something needs to go to the bathroom and something needs to go to somebody else's room, then I find a space in the bedroom where, okay, all those things, here's a little pile just for the bathroom, here's a little pile just for this. So that way I stay in the room and I'm not being tempted going somewhere else and doing something else. So as a teacher, once again, it would be, okay, so I know that you need to do this, and this, but let's start here. And then if you're having an idea about something, here, write it down, piece of paper, or type it out, put it to the side, come back to it. And then let's finish this, and then we can move on to the next task. Or for me, I'll say, okay, if I give them, like I said, I have block scheduling. So I have my students 2 hours and 10 minutes. Excuse me. So I'll say, okay, here are your assignments you're working on. You're going to start with this assignment. As soon as you finish it, then you're going to do this assignment, and then you're going to do this one. So it's that same thing of, they're not opening up everything and having all this, and well, let me start here. Okay, no, let me come back to this assignment. No, have this assignment, work on it, finish it. Now it's time for this. And it has helped students a lot to say, okay, she's told us what we're doing in order. Let me do it in that order, and not just, start, well, I don't like this assignment, I can't get it. No, we're going to keep at it until you finish it. That way now your brain can pause and move on to the next thing. So it's a lot. And I realize as a parent, and I know you've realized the difference between raising Haley and raising Adira and Alonzo. There's things that you did or didn't do with her that now you're realizing, okay, I should have done this or something differently. And that's kind of where I am now with me being a mom, me being a grandmother now, and of course me teaching, because I'm seeing how kids are. They're coming through the line and saying, okay, I could have done this differently with my child, but I know I'll do things differently with my grandkid, and and vice versa, kind of taking some of those things and taking it back with the classroom. I don't teach necessarily the same way I did, or react or act the same way I did when I first started. And it kind of loops us back around to you saying about patience. And so, yes, I have gained patience, because I'm learning, okay, things are different. It's not the same world. These kids are not the same. The expectations, I know, and we're both from Michigan. The most thing we had to practice on was the tornado drill. If a tornado came through, that
Yeah.
was the drill. But now these kids have so much more that they're exposed to. Now we're doing lockdown drills. We're doing we don't even do a tornado drill, but we do lockdowns, evacuations, all these different things that they're exposed to. And things that they have to keep in the back of their minds, and they're just trying to figure life out, because life is so confusing as to what's going on from day to day. And so I have learned how to gain, I could, like I said, speaking for myself, have had to learn how to gain a little bit more patience. And when you mentioned earlier about giving Adira some mercy, when I was working in 2020, I was at a different school district, and my department chair was saying, well, not only do you have to give yourself, talking about me, some grace and some mercy, because like I said, I had never taught online. I've gone to school online, but now I'm the teacher. And so he said, you have to give yourself some grace and mercy, but then at the same time, you need to give the kids some grace and mercy. And at that point, I was saying, man, they should be glad they're at home now. But I learned afterwards, once my anxiety ramped up, I was like, oh, okay, I see. So once again, I've learned from that, and learning to gain more patience with them, with myself, giving myself and my students more grace and mercy, because it is a lot to go through. And we don't think about all that. As parents, I know a lot of times we think, oh, I know, as a kid, you don't have any worries, you don't have any. But once again, that's not true, because a lot of kids do have worries. And we as adults have to realize that we're not the only ones that have different worries, that they do as well. And we just have to show them how to get through it, and how to deal with it and get through it and move past it, and then be able to go. And as you said before, God-fearing woman, you go and you take your testimony to others and say, hey, I've been through something similar. Let me tell you what worked for me, and it may help you.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So now here's the big question. So what do we do with these children during the summer so that by the time they go back to school, they're not completely lost? How do we retain some of that? Because that is a lot.
Yeah. And we see, as educators, we see the kids already have gaps. And then they take the summer off and the gaps get like this.
Yeah.
So trust me, I understand. When you have younger kids, it's a lot easier because there's so many different toys and things that they can do. So for instance, my grandbaby, like I said, her birthday was on the 10th, just a couple of days ago. And I bought her this little, I love it. It's got like 100 words or something. And it's an electronic thing, and pages flip and you press it, and it tells you the word in English, it tells you the word in Spanish, and it does little sounds, all kinds of stuff. So if you have younger kids, even elementary kids, yes, that may seem like something, once again, for my grandbabies too, but even elementary kids up to 8 or 9, yes, they can do that. You can turn it into a little game, especially if you have a couple of kids. Okay, who I'm gonna say, what's this word here? What is it in Spanish, or what is, or how do you spell it? And spend a few minutes a day, or an hour a day at least, having them to do something that's academic. The other thing that I would wholeheartedly stress is, yes, it's the summertime. Now, when I was a kid, my parents made me read. Now, I love my parents, both of them are gone, but dear God, help us all. My mother was a little bit more educated than my dad. My sister and I taught my dad to read. He could not read at all. His whole goal in life was to be able to read a newspaper. And so we literally taught him from, a little bit of scratch, and moving his way up. So they were not the smartest people academically, but when I tell you, they had high expectations for us. So we were middle school or elementary, something like that. And they were making us read Shakespeare. I had to read Romeo and Juliet. My sister had to read Hamlet. And then we had to memorize lines. And then it would make us tell us those lines. And what did the book say? Once again, I don't know much about Shakespeare. So Shakespeare is not my strength, but that's what we did. So I'm not saying go out and have your kids read Shakespeare. By the way, this was way prior to them having the no fear Shakespeare. No, we were reading the original text and we didn't know half of what was going on. But my suggestion is have your kids read. So a minimum of an hour a day. And I say that because, so say you did have a kid that semi was reading while school was in, they need to continue doing that to build their stamina. And I talked about stamina before. A lot of kids don't have the stamina for reading. And, when they're little kids, oh, it's great, it's little books and okay, they go. But as they get older, reading becomes less and less important. So have them to read, and then have them, they don't need to do a book report for you or anything. If they're, elementary, middle, find a creative way that they could put it out there. Tell them, okay, if you put together a quick little PowerPoint or something, I'll put on my social media. I got a whole bunch of friends. They'll love to see something like that. If you want to act it out or something, have them find creative ways to let you know that they read the book and what it was about. It doesn't have to be, okay, Stan, now it's a book report. No, but I would definitely say make sure that children are reading. If it's an older child, one of the things that I would still suggest is, okay, hey, last year you had some issues with whatever subject, especially math and science. There are so many YouTube videos. So I would say, okay, look, go out there on YouTube. We're going to find a video and we're going to practice together. Once again, that's bringing the parent and the child together. I know you don't want to do this, but next year you're going to have X, and X, classes. So, we're going to practice on it. And then also find creative ways that they could, do things or whatnot. It may mean the parent having to go out and do a little research online or saying, okay, well, how could they do this or how could they do that? If your child's really good at writing, there's tons of competitions or whatever that they could enter into to have their writing, see if their writing can be selected. So those are things that they can do throughout the summer. And then of course they have, if you have the money type of thing, you can go into learning teacher stores. I mean, anybody can go in there and they have things, or you can order online, of course, and they have lots of science kits and things that where you were using science and math and you're building stuff or whatever. And even at the high school level, they have things like that. So then that way they're still retaining some of it, but they're having fun with it. And the big thing is just try to find something that your kids can do. You block off some time, say, hey, I know you're a 10th grader, I know, but from X time to X time, you're not going outside, you're not sitting on this, you're going to be doing something kind of interactive, that type of thing. And they can do things like that to keep them engaged, but it also helps to retain knowledge. That's
yeah. Alonzo and I talk about that because if people don't know, my son is on the spectrum. We didn't get him diagnosed until he was 9 because it kind of went under the radar a little bit because he wasn't doing poorly, really, like in something like math, which kind of makes sense. It's a puzzle for him to make right? But he said something so profound. The one thing about people who are on the spectrum, they are very direct in their communication.
Yes.
In a way that I can appreciate, I'm like, so he just said to me, there was some kind of something happened at lunch. And the long and short, he said, I feel like I don't know enough words. When people, and I feel like I don't feel adequate because I feel like I don't know enough words. And so I've been telling him really since he was in elementary school, I said, look, Miss Boyer, one of his favorite teachers, said, you got to read 20 minutes a night, every day, read something. And I'm like, I don't care that you're not in 4th grade. You still have to maintain that.
Yes.
Until you feel like and that may never happen. So just keep doing this for the rest of your life. And that's not a bad thing. You're getting knowledge and you're learning vocabulary, reading something that you enjoy. Like you just have to. And so it's just like the kids. So it's the electronics, it's the this, or it's all these things. But we have to make that a thing. That has to be like a non-negotiable, I think, because even if he weren't on the spectrum, because my daughter is not, I can see where the young people are losing a lot of knowledge because they're not spending enough time reading. Instead, they're doing either gaming or doing all the things, but they're doing so many things that they're not reading. And it's very basic, but a very essential thing, I think.
It is. And I know that your son and your daughter as well, they're super creative when I we came to see you all. And one of the things, and your son, he can, I don't know how he was doing, he's on a phone and he's designing, and I was like, I don't know how you design this thing on a phone, but okay, do you, boo-boo, because that's not gonna work for me. But maybe for him, one of the things, reading, and I tell parents, yes, and I tell the kids too, you need to read every day. And I don't care if you're reading the back of a cereal box, read something. But for him, because he's interested in doing those designs, maybe say, okay, hey, look, for 30 minutes, we're going to find some research or find some things that deal with you in this designing so you can learn it a little bit more. Then I want you reading it and let's see if you can apply it. So now he's reading something that he's interested in because he wants to do the designing part, but he needs to learn a little bit more. And so those are other things that can be done. And you're right about, he may not always know all the words. I know I don't, but I'm always reading something. And I know now that there are books online and things like that. But it really does help when they become an adult because you need to be able, I know they don't have the traditional newspaper anymore, but you can still find the news and read what's going on. And a lot of times, you know, you're going to get more information from that than you would from a little clip that they put out, a video or something. And it's important that they know how to do that. And so that's why I'm like, okay, find something, anything that they could, you know. And I'm not huge on what is it? Oh, what are they called? They're books. They're almost like comic books, but they're not. Um,
I don't like those because they're not full English. It's
it's
not.
not, but it's still reading. And
It's
so,
reading, but
but here's the thing: if that's something that either Adira or Alonzo or you know the audience, if their children are into, and I'm sorry, I'm drawing blanks only because I've worked all day and I'm tired. But if that's something they're into, allow
yeah.
them that opportunity to read that, but then try to read something else. So for me, I'm not into those types of that type of genre. But for me, because I'm so busy all the time, I'm now into listening to books on audio. I
Yeah.
never was like that as well as a kid. You know, when you're in school, yes, when you first learn to read, you listen to it. As a teacher, I don't like people reading to me, or not people, but I don't like students reading because their flow is, and I can't grasp it. But I've learned, oh, well, when you have an actual professional who's doing this, it's not so bad. So there, I will go chunks of time where I may not be able to read a book because I'm reading other things, you know, stuff for work, passages and things I'm giving my students, but I'm listening to my books on audio. But then there's sometimes when I say, okay, I now have some downtime. Like for instance, it's summertime coming up. So now I can literally pick up a book, or, you know, I can go online and I use the library a lot. That's where I get my audio. But sometimes I would check out a book I have to read and I can read the pages and swipe. And so some people are like, well, that's not reading, blah, blah, blah. And you're just listening to the book. And my sister clowns me all the time, of course, for that too. I was like, so what? I'm still listening to a book. But the point is, I still want to read because I need to see the grammar. And I need to see because I'm looking at how they're structuring things so I can teach my students and learn new techniques. But somebody may say, well, if you're an English teacher, why are you listening to it? You need to be reading. Well, because it's easier for me to get through a book by listening to it as I'm driving to and from work and when I'm washing the dishes. And so once again, having that patience with other children, with children, of saying, okay, I know that this is, you're into this, you're into that. Okay, we can come to a compromise. Yes, you can read certain types of things, but then I want you also to read a traditional book, you know, even if they read it online, but I want you to read a traditional book so you can see. That's why I tell the students in my class, I know I'm playing it for you, or I know I'm reading it aloud. No, I need you to literally follow along because I need you to see the words, because there are some words that you know it when you hear it, but you don't know it when you see it. You can look at spelling. I'm having you looking at grammar because now you can see. I've been teaching them how to do quotation marks and ellipses and all. So they need to be able to see that at the same time. So that's why I say, okay, yes, you need some traditional text. And when you kind of compromise, especially as a parent, then it makes it a little bit easier because they don't feel like they're butting heads with you and you're not listening and pay attention. It feels like, okay, I can give a little, take a little type of thing. And they'll be more willing. And who knows, they may end up finding an interest. You know, if they have to read something else, they may find an interest in something because you were willing to kind of work with them.
Okay, I'm gonna try it. I mean, and you know what? And they used to, like Alonzo would, and this is my fault that we kind of got out of it because he would kind of, when we would go to the library, I think it was maybe like middle school, and I really he would kind of get into that a little bit, but it was one of his teachers that said, and you know, and everybody's different. It was like, well, it's great that he liked that, but you really need to get him into other things besides just the comics or whatever. Or, but you're right, though. At least he was doing something. Because in hindsight, what happened is he just became not very committed to what he was reading because it was just kind of like, you know, it didn't move him enough for him to be doing it. And for him too, it's because of the number of words on a page too. So it was probably visually easier for him to read like comic type novel thingies, than a regular traditional book with all the words, the
Right.
So yeah, in hindsight.
Yeah, and plus those they have pictures, and a lot of times as you're getting older, of course, you don't have pictures much. And I cannot for the life of me, I need a moment to think because I know that the proper term for the book, but I can't think of it.
My husband had some downstairs too. I can't think of it either. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm drawing blanks. But for some kids, you're right, it becomes overwhelming. And so another thing, graphic novel. Yes. Thank you. Why could I think
novel? Yeah.
Right. And for some kids, reading a regular novel is too much. So just like I tell them, like, okay, get a sheet of paper and once again, chunk it. So take your sheet of paper and put it over the text and just kind of keep going down. And then that way you don't see it. Or take 2 sheets of paper and, you just do a few lines at a time and you're just kind of moving it down. Because that may encourage them to go ahead and read because they don't feel like they're seeing so much. Another thing, once again, trying to make it interesting and fun for them. I've seen where, okay, you put some M&Ms or something at different parts on the page. And so as you get to that part, they get a little treat. Okay, I can, and they can kind of keep reading. And so that may encourage some like, okay, I feel like I've got, just like when you were talking about, when I was talking about earlier, 30 minutes, if you finish before the time is up, whatnot, you have this chunk of time and then you give yourself some rest. Well, same thing. You have this chunk of thing you have, all right, you're going to rest after 2 pages, but then you have these little miniature treats in there. And that may help, and parents can, however they do. If they say, okay, once you get to this word and, you pulled a little tab off and you get so many tabs, you get a nice bigger treat or something, however the parent wants to do it. Maybe they'll get an ice cream treat, that, and they know, okay, they have something to work towards. And I know some people say, well, they should be reading just for the love of reading. And yes, I believe that too in many ways, but we know that a lot of kids are not there. So we have to find ways to entice them to want to read and want to do other activities. And so that's just some things that parents can do. Like I said, there's a plethora of information out there. I know that I will be putting more information out there on my website for parents and teachers, that, I hope I can plug my website real quick.
In fact, not even real quick. So, real talk. So she's a teacher, okay? So, long and short, I tutor people how to speak just some basic English, okay? Like from all over the world. And it kind of happened because when I got here to Georgia, I didn't fall into anything right away, right? And so it was a kind of a cool way, and also I'm a people person. So like I get to meet people from Turkey, from Japan, from China, from I'm saying everywhere, from like Brazil, Italy, and from France. And it is just a beautiful thing. And these are doctors, these are students, they're all different types of people who just need to just work on some basic stuff. But Stephanie is a tutor. Okay, Stephanie is awesome because I bought a couple like study guide things for my kids, and she has programs. She actually tutors kids because this is what she loves doing. This is what she's naturally really good at. And of course, you're gonna have to give me the website, because when I edit this, your website will be in there where people can find you. And I don't know, Stephanie, but I have a funny feeling. So you probably, when you do tutor, you're virtual, right? Because you can do it anywhere, and that's like it is nowadays. So you definitely plug, and don't forget to give me that information so we can
absolutely
share. So don't come to me. You got to go to Stephanie. See, these people.
I've been tutoring a long time. Real quick story. When myself and my sister, when we were little kids, like I said, our parents were big on, even though they weren't highly educated, they were big on us being educated. So on our porch in the summertime, it's another thing that you can do. In the summertime, we would tutor. We would hold school on our
Yeah,
porch.
you stop it.
Yes, it was so funny. And it's funny because when we became an adult, and we went back to the neighborhood, saw a couple people still who lived in the neighborhood. The one lady was telling me, I remember you when you were younger. And the thing I remember is you would have school on your porch in the summertime. I was like, yeah. And I remember my pride and joy was there was a young man down the street. He was 18, I believe, and he had some mental deficiencies. And so he would come down and we would, especially me, I would tutor him and he was starting to learn. But because we were, like I said, middle school and he was 18, my parents kind of felt, wait a minute, I was a little too old. Even though he wasn't doing anything, I mean, like I said, we were on literally the front porch and nothing crazy was happening, but they just said that just didn't look right. But I really hated it because he was learning and I was like, man, I could do this. I'm doing this thing. And so I've always held that, as my pride and joy. And that's another thing that, kids can do, especially if they like reading. If you have older kids, and they have cousins who are younger, they can read to, they can read to them. Or if you have little kids, another suggestion for the summer. I mean, now I got all these suggestions. Now you're asking, and I know we're so far over the hour time, and I apologize. I talk a lot. But another suggestion that they do a lot of times in schools. So what they do is sometimes you have the little kids in elementary school and you're like, well, what can we do? They can go to, if you link with an animal shelter and, you do all the proper things, they can go and sit and read to the animals. And you see that a lot with the older with the younger kids. They like doing that, and then the animals, they get, they feel like they're getting some interaction. The kids, of course, they're reading, they're learning to use their voices and different things, inflection and stuff, and it's low, um now I went blank again. Low stress, and it's something that's fun. And then, like I said, if it's an older kid, you've got the younger kids that you can work with. Now, I don't know how National Honor Society works, if you can get volunteer hours during the summer, but that's another option for kids. They can work at doing that, or if they are in school and they've gotten in trouble, or they've gotten in trouble with the law, whatever the case may be, and they have to do community service, that maybe they can go and find younger kids to churches in the summertime, libraries. They can link with a library and say, okay, can we have reading time? We've got a couple of teenagers that can come, we got kids, they can sit and read to them. And yes, they're reading children's books, but once again, reading is reading. So they're learning flow. The teenager reads it and learns how to read it with some type of flow expression. The younger kids can learn to pick up on that. How does this benefit the high schooler? Well, this is how it benefits, because this is what they do. The cat jumped over the table. That is so not how you should read that. So if they learn in that, but that's literally how they read it. And so then when they have to answer questions and the question says, well, what tone was the author using? They don't know the correct tone because they read it like that. But if they start learning how to read with inflection with the little kids in their books, then they can learn how to do that with their reading at their high school level, because they'll say the cat jumped over the table and slid through the box. And so now they're starting to use it, and now they're starting to remember their stories more. So that's something else that parents can do. Once again, low cost, because I know my parents didn't always have a lot of money when we were growing up, and there's a lot of parents that may not have a whole lot of money. And then a final thing, there's always tutoring. Of course, I have a tutoring business, paid. But if once again you can't afford that, there's a lot of different churches and organizations that even during the summer you can look it up and see, trying to get your child some free tutoring, because you don't want them to have even bigger gaps. So you say, okay, once a week, hey, you're going to tutoring because we know that you struggled in science or whatever, and we want to put you kind of a leg up. Those are always options.
I love it, Stephanie. Well, I'm about to. I'm in my head. I have. I know which things I'm going to try to do for the children that I think will be beneficial. And now they're both next year. They'll both be in high school, so they'll be together. They'll be kind of a support for each other. I hope. But you know how this is a sibling thing.
We know how it is.
I hope to be like some kind of support. I think that I think honestly, like Adira might do better just kind of knowing he's in the same building, like Alon's in the same building. She won't admit that, but but I think she will just kind of like some kind of like, okay, I'm not alone. No, I'll do this. But
and not only that, but then she knows that her brother has already been there.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll know things sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this has been so nice. I'm so glad that I got you to agree to come and do that. And it was such an easy sell. It was nice. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I've had a lot of fun just talking. I know that your new podcast this is so super exciting. It's about, maternal ways and instincts and just parenting and children, all that. And it's so... this topic you can just go so deep on so many different things. So I do hope that you invite me back at a later time, so we can discuss even more things.
Man, look, we're gonna be talking. You're right. I do have to get Vicky on. I have to get both you guys on. I might have to have a drink first, but I'm gonna have both of you guys on at the same.
When I tell you, you're gonna like, I don't think I use any of this. Those two were going at
but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Oh yeah.
I think the timing in this is perfect because school's about to end for our kids on the 22nd. They get out on the 22nd.
Okay, we get out. So this is week 8. Then we have week. Wait, no, this is week 8. This is week 9. Excuse me. We have next week, and then we have week 11. But week 11 is the holiday, so we only actually have 2 days. So they're coming to school that Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they're done.
Okay, yeah. See. But yeah, this is what we need right now because I'm already, Alonzo and Adira volunteered at the library in Virginia last year.
Really? Okay.
It was
that's great.
And the year before that, the last 2 years they volunteered. But I think I now that they're older, I like what you said about reading to the kids, reading to they did projects and art, of course, and things like that. But I think reading to the kids is good because it will boost their confidence because they're not struggling. You know what I mean? They're reading a little book also, but great way to practice inflection. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So please do let me know, let the audience know what decisions, things that you decided for your kids for the summer. We would love to hear about it because, that's what it's about. It's about us coming together and sharing our wealth of knowledge. And, yes, I am done raising children right now, but that doesn't mean that you might not come up with an idea that I say, oh, I can use that in my classroom, or, oh, I can pass that along to so-and-so. So yeah. Please do.
That's going to be how about a follow-up show where we're talking about like what happened, what did we end up doing, and
yes,
you and I, we got offline stuff to discuss about the schooling and academics and all that good stuff. But I do that. My face sometimes it does things I can't control. But yeah. So this was good. So I cannot wait till next time. And I'm so glad everybody got to meet you. For those who didn't,
I love you all.
Time you were here, I got some in messages from people about you. They were, and also it was like, okay, who is that? And it was really good. So of course I was like, I knew that I wanted to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you. This has been so much fun and it has been great seeing you. And I miss you so much. Y'all don't understand. This is my girl. And when she said, we can go long periods of time not talking because, of course, we're very busy women, but it is as though we never missed any time. As soon as we get back together, we just pick right back up. And I just love you so much. And I miss you. And I was trying to convince my husband when we were there, I was trying to convince him, babe, don't you want to move to Georgia? We've lived in Georgia. His parents actually live there. And I was like, well, let's move because I miss my friends. And, and I have my friend that's there.
Yeah.
I miss you so much.
I felt bad for your husband because when you came, you guys were probably really trying to just stop through. But you stayed a long time, but it's natural for us. You know what I'm saying? When we talk, it's hard to stop. Like it was great. I loved it. But
he was fine. He loved it. He was great. But it was just so, I don't know. It's being overseas and meeting people, and I still am friends with quite a few of the people that I met overseas, and that includes you. And it was just a beautiful experience. And so now to see kind of where we've gone in life and being able to still help each other and bond, that means so much. And especially because we have children around the same age and it's a beautiful thing. And so I'm so excited for what you're doing. And even overseas, you're like, hey, I have this idea and I want us to do this, and you just have all these wonderful creative ideas. And so I cannot wait to see what all you're putting into this new podcast, and this is going to be super exciting.
Thank you. Oh, you just made my heart smile. I'm so cool. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
So that's it for tonight. So until the next time, thank you all for hanging out and joining us this time. And we will see you the next time. Bye.
Charissa Marie, now please remember to like, share, and subscribe, okay? It's easy. You like this, you share this, and subscribe. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and find me on Instagram at I am Charissa Marie. Also on YouTube at Charissa Marie Wants You to Be Free. Please hit that notification bell, like, comment, and share. Thank you for your support, and let's make 2024 amazing. Thank you so much for coming. We will see you the next time. Bye.